Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I'll be comparing the anime to the manga of My Hero Academia. I'm going to be starting with the very first episode and comparing that to the first chapters or whatever it covers in the manga. And I'll just make a video for every single episode after that. I will not be covering what is said in either of them because depending on the translation or sub or dub, it's going to change. Like, there's certainly a fair few things that completely change the way a few characters come off. So I'm just not going to go over any of that. So without wasting any more time, let's just get into it. So the first change is actually in the first scene of the anime, and it's on the first page of the manga. It's where you see Izuku standing up for the kid that Bakugo and his two friends were hurting. And yes, that's the same in the manga and anime. Where it differs is when the three kids charge towards Deku. That is just cut and it just changes the scene in the anime. But in the manga, you could actually see Izuku being held on the head and beat across the face. Which I see why they didn't add that in the first episode, but it is still a change, so I had to throw it in. Moving on to the first villain attack, there's a fair few changes. For example, there's no metal power pole falling and having Backdraft or Death Arms make their first appearance, catching it and barricading people. Death Arms isn't even in the manga on that panel at all. He's just drawn on a cover photo for the chapter, and Backdraft doesn't get an introduction. He's more of just like a background thing drawn just to take up space. As well as those two, there's all the fighting in between Kamui getting yelled at by the villain and then him explaining the illegal use of quirks. That's also not in the manga at all. That just adds a lot of like filler. But all the important dialogue of why the villain rampaged and all the background things of everyone not being born or created equal, that's still in the manga. It's just not at the same time. It's just kind of all scattered around the timeline. It's really jumbled and everything. Next up is when the sludge villain appears behind Deku in the sewer. In the anime, Deku actually realizes that the villain's there before he's fully formed, and Deku just kind of sits there and panics. But in the manga, the villain fully forms behind him and then attacks Deku. And it's a small difference, but still one to note. Going along with this, when All Might pops out of the sewer, in the anime, the villain had time to react and actually throw a counterattack first. And in the manga, that just didn't happen. All Might just popped out, said I am here, and then just smashed the hell out of it, right? So it is a small difference, but it's still one to add. For the next change, we'll be skipping ahead a few minutes to when Izuku is holding onto All Might's leg while they're flying through the air. Now the point to watch is when the blood comes out of All Might's mouth. That is like the marker in this situation. In the anime, when the blood comes out, it just continues like normal, and the episode ends with All Might and Deku having their talk on the ceiling about if he could become a hero with no quirk. But in the manga, when the blood comes out, it actually switches to Bakugo and his two friends walking down the street where the sludge villain fell out of All Might's pocket. And it stays following Bakugo and the two others until the sludge villain appears, fully forms, and then wraps himself around Bakugo. But it's not the end of this episode, so I'm not going to be covering it that much in depth. The last thing to happen on the episode is Deku asking All Might if someone without a quirk can ever become a hero like him. This is on the first panel of the 35th page, meaning the whole first episode is less than half of the chapter. So overall, it actually was pretty short. It didn't have a whole lot of manga content in it for what I think they could have put in 30 minutes. I think it could have been a lot better. But overall, it was a very good first episode. Now, if you are interested in hearing all the voice and like how they speak, how that changes from the manga to the anime to the sub and dub and all that stuff, I will probably make a whole other video just covering that because there's a whole lot that changes, and I didn't want this video to be so long and have it like with so many different things just going back and forth. It would have took way too long. It would have been so boring to watch. So with that being that, hope you guys enjoyed. See you later.